This is a little odd. I almost never read sitting down.
You can stand up if you like.
That's true. That's true.
We've got a
This
lectern.
is actually these chairs are so comfortable. Now, so
Okay.
I'm just going to do this. So anyway, so I'm going to start with some older poems. These are the first couple of poems here are from Layers, which is a book that Plainview Press published quite a while ago. The work of 5 Austin poets in that book, including David Meisham, who's one of the co-founders of Dos Gatos Press, and 3 other poets, John Smolowski, Toby Emert, and Cynthia Taylor Edwards. And copies of Layers are available at the counter. But anyway, so this one's called Seeing You This Time. Seeing you again inside a dream, inside a dream. This time, your back stayed turned toward me. Your face shot and shot again. Aperture winking like a telescopic eye. I wondered how you managed to breathe. Your face submerged by inches in the low lake where you walked to the ruins. When I woke, I went to look for you, the lake, 3 a.m., no light but the moon, dry grass scratching my thighs, and found the guardian instead, a black-brown bear growling over clay pot shards that press you living to my mind each time I see your braid, your shape. There's another one from that book. And this was written on a little field trip when I was working for the power plant. We were out in kind of East Texas. So it's called Small Places. Out here where the black dirt turns to red, there are fragments that will not be read by strangers on the highway by the rust-gray rail that lies slumped and broken where it stood once gleaming on the rise. Out here, who will prise open the eyes of the dead? Who will breathe the air into their mouths that they would tell us of these small places? The 6 stones in a fence, the small house, gray and doorless, drying, the pale chimney in the deep green field. So the next one is pretty recent. I wrote it about 2 years ago, and it's actually also it's also it's a very similar poem, but it's written very differently. So you'll hear the similarity when I read it. It's called A Memory of Stone. In the sun where traffic drones, a memory of her, 6 stones. The blocks are tall and white as bone, a memory of her, not far from home. The prairie-eaten roof and scattered stone, the timbers gone to dust like hollow bone, a memory of her, 6 stones. Asleep beneath the sun, beneath the stones, a memory, a gathering of bones. Beyond the fence, the patterning of stones, a memory, the passing wheels drone.
What form was that?
I'm sorry?
What form was that?
That's actually not, it's not a form except to the extent that there's a lot of internal rhyme. Most of the lines end with the rhyme own, but it was not strictly a form.
Yeah, I thought it was a sestina too.
End of sidewalk. As if the field of graying knee-high grass were not sufficient sign, black block letters acknowledge appetites for things we once considered permanent. Asphalt strips cracked green with weeds, even an abandoned stand of buildings, glass black behind the locked revolving doors. No more lonely than the vacant guard shack, the empty parking lot with its single menacing car. As if we could not see all of it coming, curving out of sight by the rusting tower with its clanking chain, unreadable sign, what is left of concrete walkways when the grass goes high, the weeds and the roots take them. So the next poem I'm going to read is one that was actually in the Austin International Poetry Festival anthology this year. It was the second prize winner in that anthology, and it's one I wrote in Scott Wigerman's class in Alpine last summer, which is another great resource. It's like a week-long retreat, and it's out of this world, productive in terms of what he teaches, and really a deal. So look at the Writers League website for that. Anyway, this is an erasure on some text from the novel by The Known World by Edward P. Jones, and the title of the poem is The Evening His Master Died. Moses, finally freed, ancient, brittle, closed his eyes, bent down and took a pinch of soil and ate it, leaned back, the strip of sun dark blue, then nothing. He ate it for some incomprehensible need, ate it to discover the only thing that meant almost as much as his own life. Moses smelled the coming of rain. He was alone. He stood and turned away. He could see the smoke rising from the world. He could hear the last bird. He went to the farthest edge of the cornfields. He undressed down to his nakedness and lay down. He was an old man. Rheumatism chained up his body. He lost himself completely and fell asleep and didn't come to until morning. All about his body was mud, leaves, and debris. He had been seized by a dance, a hard story. He had been someone's slave.
Can you tell us about erasures?
Yeah, so an erasure is a poem that is created from a source text. In this case, it was a 2-page excerpt from this novel that Scott provided us in class. And in that form, you just simply, you choose phrases in the order in which they appear in the text, and that's what becomes the poem. And you choose, and you make the poem in the order of the text as it appears in the text itself. So you don't add anything, but you essentially excerpt some text from the larger text. So for instance, there's somebody that has recently done, I don't know the name of the author or the book, but he's done a series of haiku from Shakespeare's sonnets. And they're done as erasures. So that's a pretty interesting project. So I'm going to shift gears now, something very different. And this is called Listening to Led Zeppelin Backwards. There we were, all gathered together, turntable on the living room floor, my finger then my sister's against the paper label at the center of the 12-inch disc, Mother, Dad, and Grandma listening for subliminal satanic syllables. I don't remember what words were rumored embedded backwards in the black vinyl, only that Mom thought she heard them. And when my sister mentioned AC/DC, Grandma chiming in, "We don't believe in that." They banned listening to those albums that day, though later, when a friend gave me Zeppelin 4, I hid it among the John Denver and played it quietly through my headphones. Photograph 1987. The truth of the matter is, I distinctly remember that this was something I no longer remember. Anyone who looks can agree on some details: long straight hair, blue denim, or perhaps not blue. Is the plaid of the shirt incontrovertible? Or the brick wall of the house or its siding? Okay, perhaps we can agree that someone took this picture. Or at least that this picture occurred. Occurred as in emulsion, as in photo paper, as in, oh, come on. At least we can never agree. How am I doing that time, Joe?
Oh, you've got all kinds of time.
Okay, good.
10 minutes.
Oh, nice. All right. So the next one is called Crossing the Street in Cairo. At Corniche El Nil, traffic swirls, horns singing in 5 different keys, dances with the light from cruise ships that ply up and down the Nile. The cars are like fish slipping and turning in lanes that disappear with the current, somehow susceptible to the miracle of Moses. a hand outstretched, the Red Sea of taillights parting, quick footsteps of Exodus hurrying to the other shore. The bunion. Some say a bunion is like a compass. There is no arguing with it, each big toe pointing its own direction toward a limping, lumbering age. Some say toes are talisman of evil, intelligence, or charm. Mine show no signs of smarts. They're orderly as bent pencils, crooked as diminishing keys. Each bunion bears its logic, manifest in its shape. The left one insists jeans while the right one hisses gait. Now we're going to read a few sonnets, and they're really various in terms of their content. So anyway, here we go. Dry season. From some hour in October when clouds flew the way of discolored leaves, grasses paled from brown to gray. Brittle blades grew by New Year's to stab each foot that passes, snap under the weight, while vacant fields exhaled their dust. A yellow cloud each puff of wind, a sifting breath inside the sealed houses. 10 inches might have been enough in January, spread over those weeks, but the sky ambled empty, the nights full of open eyes, stars. Now, heat lightning speaks of wildfire, the tinderbox hillside pull of 6 rainless months, a spring drowned in drought, reservoirs empty, an ocean of doubt. So there's nobody including underage in here, so I'm gonna, there's an F-bomb in this poem. B.H. Surfers, 1989, and this is a terza rima sonnet. The butthole surfers, 1989, threw sheets of sound at us, frenetic, amped. The Austin Opera House, not really fine, but almost big enough. Their punk rock vamp was what we came to see and got. The 3 projection screens showed Charlie's Angels, camped against weird clips of penis surgery, while Gibby Haynes, their manic frontman, stalked across, waxed psychedelic. Oh, Perry, you're so fucking scary. Comme ça, talked his punk rock junk. Sound twisted, wailing wind, electric wall of buzz and drumming shock. Loud, loud, bone-pounding sound that beat behind the fuzz of earplugs stuffed in just in time. Barbecue. And this poem is a persona poem. It is this is for Scott Wiggerman. It is in his voice. This is his story. Barbecue. When I was growing up, I choked on chunks of flesh dumped on my plate. The chicken leg's reminder of its running, headless trunk. The butcher's hanging sides of beef, the steak's red muscle, meaty as my rump. Between my knees, our dog would grin and drool, intent upon the napkin where I spat, both lean and fat, half chewed, his treat and my descent. The smoky scent of brisket off the flame, the rack of ribs, the garlicked, peppered chop, the tender breast I savor without shame. No longer young, I'd be at pains to stop. I've lost the ear that hears a plaintive moo. Instead, I salivate at barbecue. And I will close the sonnets with a power plant poem. It's called Burning Number 5. And this was published in the San Pedro River Review's issue on Work pretty recently. At 17 degrees, the oil will spill as slow as cold molasses. Both back tanks gauge out at 18 feet. We climb to fill the donkey boiler, boots on wobbling planks, then trudge out to the pump house. Down its stairs stinks thick black oil, trapped in symmetric sumps. We bang valves into place and back upstairs, purge steam lines free of water, start the pumps. Inside the furnace, one by one, we slide each slender metal gun and latch its port. 2 turns of steam, then oil, igniters flare. We peer through cobalt at the brilliant light. We'll need asbestos gloves to take them out. My breath blows white into the brittle air. So don't let anyone tell you you can't write a sonnet on just about it. A couple more power plant poems. Blowout, 03:30 a.m. Some mornings at the plant are quiet. 03:30, Friday night turned to Saturday. No machines running, only routines call. A hydrogen alarm sounds. Red bottles lined up on a wooden rack, the four feeding the generator, now empty. He was 4 months from retirement that night when he caught the tipping cylinder, then stretched for the block valve, and old sewing came loose. He clutched the sudden distension of his belly up the elevator on his way to the emergency room via the shift supervisor, who'd caught a tipping cylinder years ago as its shoulder smashed into another, breaking finger bone in 20 places. Instinct saying, better this reaction than a metal balloon of hydrogen let loose, bottle becoming rocket. Thoughts of flying cylinder and sparking steel exploding the early darkness. So, do I have time for two more?
Absolutely.
Okay. This one. Night shift on the turbine floor, and this is after Charles Wright's poem, Clear Night. Night shift, turbine floor, dangling incandescent bulbs. Steam courses through throttle valves, governor and blading. Black-rimmed gauges shake. The floating foundation trembles through my boots to its own settling frequency. I long to be one with this machine, steam-driven, spinning and shifting. I long to feel my bearings snug in soft batted and washed in pure filtered turbine oil. I long to press my pulse outward through miles of copper windings. And the transformer answers, what? And the disconnects answer, what? And the boilermaster wobbles with the AGC, and the sprays valves answer, diaphragms traveling in millimeter precision. And I am going to close out with an ekphrastic poem that was published in Borderlands ekphrastic issue a couple years back. And it's called How to Write a Poem, and it's after a collage of the same name by Man Ray. First, pluck a flight feather from a large bird. To do this, you must grasp the animal and yank firmly. It will bite you. Next, shear the end of the feather at an angle. Dip it in darkest ink. Drive the tip through the corrugated sheet of thought and memory. This will hurt both the feather and your hand. You must drive the quill through the whole black piece until it pierces every layer, becomes inseparable. Prepare a cardboard bed, a mattress of sandpaper. Lie down upon it, quivering quill, broken barbs, bent metal corrugation. Notice the ink stains on your hands. Thank you.